The gentleman yields. I now recognize the gentlelady from Nevada, Ms. Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing. It's an important topic that we should be discussing. Unfortunately, over the last year or so, every topic that we should be discussing always just kind of evolves into the southern border, no matter what. Meantime, we aren't talking about cyber security, which is very important. We've done very little about anti-racism, anti-Semitism, anti-Muslims, anti-Asians in the wake of COVID. All of that's kind of gone by the wayside. I've just been jotting down notes, and this is going to sound pretty disjointed, but the things I've been hearing from the other side of the aisle are so outrageous, I have a hard time putting them into anything comprehensive. If we want to talk about the southern border in relation to Iran's threat on the U.S., let's go back to 9/11 and the people who were the terrorists there. I don't recall any of those terrorists getting into the United States by swimming across the Rio Grande, pretending to be a brown, poor person from El Salvador. They came other ways. Maybe we should be looking at some other things that we should be doing to prevent these terrorists from coming into the country. Mr. Warwick, could you address that?
Yes, you are correct that the 9/11 terrorists entered through ports of entry, airports, and a number of measures were taken after 9/11 to tighten up that possibility and to make it much, much harder. Those efforts were carried out by both Democratic and Republican administrations, and they have been very successful compared with what happened before 9/11. We really do need to appreciate that Iran seeks to recruit people who are already here in the United States because it's much easier, as they see it, to do that. We need to make it a lot harder for that to happen. But the way to do that is to educate Americans, inform Americans, and be careful as public officials make statements. As you correctly said, we need to denounce both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. And educating Americans in the kinds of things that Iran is doing to us for real is actually very important.
I've also heard the call for regime change, and sanctions work, but we need to do more. I don't know what more you want us to do. It's not been very specific. You've said, let me speak, which is happening. You are speaking. Support NGOs. We've tried to do that, I know, through the State Department. Are you wanting us to send troops? We heard some of the Republican candidates in their last debate suggesting we send troops across the border to go after the cartels, and we've heard here that the cartels are connected to some of the Iranian terrorists. Mr. Warwick, you kind of debunked that. Should we be sending troops? Can we send troops into Mexico to go after the cartels? Because not only do they have fentanyl, but apparently they're smuggling in terrorists from the Middle East.
There's a lot that can be done to disrupt the efforts of cartels to try to get drugs into our country. Many of them are in the appropriation supplemental request the administration has requested for inspection equipment that would do a much better job of keeping our country more secure from these drug shipments than trying to send troops chasing after mobile drug labs in Mexico.
We also haven't heard anything about the UN's collective sanctions expiring last week on Iran's ability to acquire and send ballistic missiles. We haven't talked about the JCPOA and pulling out of that and what impact that has had. Perhaps those are topics that should be addressed. We've heard about some problems in the State Department with having Iranian sympathizers, I guess, advising us, but we didn't hear much about President Trump giving nuclear secrets to a high-level Russian diplomat that we don't even share with our allies, and Russia's connection to Iran. Maybe we should talk about that. I think the only really good thing that I heard coming out was a reference to my district that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Let me assure you, it doesn't. It stays on the internet. So thank you.